Good evening, everyone, and welcome. On behalf of the Midwest Auto Care Alliance, we are excited to have you here on tonight's virtual panel. I'm Sherry Hamilton. I am the Executive Director for Midwest Auto Care Alliance and this evening's host. This event is all about connection, bringing together students, parents, educators, and industry professionals for real conversations and what it's actually like to have a career in the automotive world. Tonight, you're going to hear directly from people living it every day, shop owners, service advisors, technicians, and parts professionals. And these are the voices behind the industry. And this is your chance to learn from their experiences, ask questions, and get honest insight into what your future could look like. Before we get started, let's make this interactive. Take a chance. Let's go ahead, drop a message in the chat. Tell us your name and where you're joining from. And throughout the panel, if you have questions, don't wait, put it in the chat, and we'll be keeping an eye on those, and we'll answer those either during or at the conclusion of our panel questions. And one more thing, you'll definitely want to stick around. We'll be doing a giveaway for some Amazon gift cards, so don't miss your chance to win. You must be present to win. And all right, are you ready? Let's get into it. It's my pleasure to introduce tonight's moderator. He's not only a respected shop owner and industry leader, but also someone deeply committed to developing the next generation of professionals in our industry. Please help me welcome Travis Choi, owner of Honest Wrenches. Travis, I'll turn it over to you. Introduce yourself and the panelists, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, I'm Travis Choi. I've been in business for 15 years now. Been doing automotive my entire life, and went to college for it. Opened a business, and I have an amazing business partner and an amazing team that has just continued the passion that we have of developing and getting people interested in the automotive industry, and that's all aspects of the industry. So let's go ahead and introduce Kelly Crawford from the Auto Shop in Jefferson City, Missouri. Kelly, if you could just kind of introduce yourself. Actually, Kelly, her shop was 2025 Service Facility of the Year, and she will be representing a shop owner on the panel this evening. And if you could just give a short little bio about yourself, Kelly.
Sure. Danny, my husband, he grew up in the automotive world. His dad had a shop. Through his career, he became a technician, and then later, we both wanted to have a shop that we took really good care of the customers and the employees, and so we decided to start our shop together. So we did that about 16, 17 years ago. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Yes.
And next we have Nikki Anderson, Westgate High Tech Auto Repair in Omaha, Nebraska. Nikki is a service advisor, and she was actually voted in as 2026 Service Advisor of the Year. Nikki, if you could please just give us a little background and bio about yourself.
Well, I'm working over in Westgate at Omaha. I've been there about 3 years, and that's about the extent of my career in the industry. I started off as a customer service advocate, writing thank you cards and chauffeuring customers back and forth. And now I am the store lead 3 years later, and I've loved every second of it. The growth and knowledge that I've learned is amazing in the last 3 years.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Nikki. And next up, we've got Brian Rush from Honest Wrenches Automotive Repair in Des Moines, Iowa. Brian will be representing an automotive technician. He is also a shop foreman as well, and he was voted 2026 Technician of the Year. Brian, can you share a little bit of bio about yourself?
I got into the industry probably in high school. I've always kind of tinkered on cars and got into it in the manufacturing side. Worked in a production facility that built wiring harnesses for GM vehicles for about 12 years. Went to school, got my associates in automotive, and from there went on to independent shops. Worked at a shop for about 12 years. Ended up at Honest Wrenches, been there about 10. Working into the leadership side of things now in the foreman position. It's been a lot of growth.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Brian. Monica Baez, Port of Oakland, Richmond, California. Monica is a technician. She is also the Amazing Women in Automotive Scholarship winner. Monica, can you share a little bit about your bio and your background and the very uniqueness that you bring to this panel? I think it's awesome.
Yeah, a little bit about myself is I got into this industry because my dad worked on cars in the garage, followed him around. After that, I went to college for collision repair. So I was in that industry for about 7 years, transitioned out of that, became a mechanic helper, then a commercial inspector. Then I wanted to learn more. So I found a heavy equipment apprenticeship program, completed that, worked my way up to journey level. And now I'm at the Port of Oakland as a senior mechanic.
That is awesome. So we've got a few different career paths that have been taken on here, which I think is pretty awesome. We can, collaborate on that, ask a lot of really good questions. Next up, we have Ron Snyder with Advanced Professional as a parts professional. Ron, can you give a short bio about yourself?
Sure thing. Again, Ron Scheck Snyder. I've been with CarQuest and Advanced Auto Parts. It'll be 31 years on May 15th. So I'm actually second generation. My father still works for the company. He's got about 57 years in, and really started part-time working as a delivery driver, parts counter person. I've been a store manager, district manager, area sales manager, and I'm with our national account team now. So I work with the strategic accounts team and manage the corporate programs and the national account programs for Advanced Auto Parts. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron. That is incredible, by the way. That's 57 years you said your father's been with the company?
Yep, and still works part-time, 2 half-days a week, and every December he says he'll think about retiring and keeps working another year. So
hey, I always say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
yeah, no doubt.
Awesome. Well, hey, with respect to everybody's time, I'd love to just jump right in. As Sherry said earlier, if you would please drop some comments, questions that you have in the chat. We've got a team on the back side ready to be able to pop those questions up, and I would love to be able to interact live with you on that, get those questions answered. But in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and dive into some questions for the panelists and go from there. I think what we'll do is Ron, if it's okay with you, I would love to ask a few questions to you from the parts supplier side of things.
Sure.
And I guess one question that I do have is, what advice would you give somebody that is considering this path? But I would like to tweak that a little bit as well. And what advice would you give somebody that the parts side of the world would be able to give them a kickstart to the automotive industry as a whole, with being able to get their hands around parts and look up parts and gain knowledge from the parts side of things that could potentially propel them into whichever career path that they're looking for? If for some reason parts professional is not it.
Sure. So Travis, you kind of said it, love what you do, and you never work in a day in your life, right? So I would recommend, you do your research, talk to your peers, some of your suppliers that you might work with currently, and just, focus on what you love to do the most, right? I think in most cases, there's great training programs that can bring you up to speed on parts and products and vehicle systems. But, really it comes down to, what we really look for. I mean, parts knowledge is important, but it's also something that can be trained, right? So really it's great attitude, it's work ethic, it's communication, it's all those things that we're looking for in a great teammate. The parts knowledge and parts piece, there's a misconception maybe that you have to be an expert mechanic to be a great parts person. But really it comes down to just, exceptional customer service, a great attitude, and that training piece, can come over time, and that opens the doors to a lot of other opportunities, whether it be in the automotive repair world, in the parts world, or the supply chain world.
Yeah, man, just share like what that looks like if they come in and they start off as a parts delivery driver. What can that career path look like? Parts delivery driver, parts counter, management, leadership, senior level leadership, corporate, like kind of share a little bit of what that can look like.
Well, you're kind of talking about my career path, I guess, because that's the same route that I took. But really, I mean, the delivery driver position or the retail counter person position, that's typically a gateway into maybe a commercial parts person position where you're managing the back counter, dealing with our professional customers, throughout the day.
Sorry to cut you off, Ron, but can you
sure.
listeners let them know like what the professional side is versus the DIY? Just kind of explain to that for our listeners so they can kind of follow what you're.
Sure. So your DIY side would be your typical walk-in customer. They're kind of the do-it-for-me customer where they would lean on a repair shop to do a lot of that work. The professional customer or DIFM, it's your your professional installer, your technician, your shop. So where we have our separate commercial counter that deals specifically with those repair shops, and you've got a retail front counter that manages those walk-in customers looking for, for their odds and ends on the front side.
Makes sense. Sorry.
But no, and really, if you look at the career path, typically that commercial parts person, there's opportunities to move into an assistant manager position, or a store manager position if that's the path that they choose to take. That commercial parts person can move into an outside route sales position where they actually go out and make sales calls to those professional shops and customers. And then from there, again, if there's either a commercial sales manager position or a district manager position, and up to regional level from there. So really, it's just being really great at what you do, whatever that role is, and then finding what kind of what you love to do and what path is what interests you. And there's typically that way to progress through those different positions into those positions of greater opportunity.
That's awesome. So almost an endless growth trajectory, really, in the automotive industry. That's really cool. Let's ask one more question on that side of it. Let's see here. What does your role look like day to day in the parts industry? I think that'd be a really good question for the listeners.
Sure, and look, I mean, that's going to vary by position. We talked a little bit about our store teammates and what that looks like from servicing either retail or professional customers. Really my role, I manage national account programs and support their leadership. I've got working relationships with the larger ownership groups within those programs. I serve as point of contact for both customers and our internal teammates as well, right, around those different programs that we offer. So typical day, it's a combination of phone calls, meetings, events. I do field work. In my role, I'm in the office typically Monday and Friday, and those 3 days in the middle, I'm out in the field or working with our team, visiting customers and spending time there. But it's awesome. It's a challenging position, but I love what I do. It's new every day. So I think it's a combination of those things.
Nice. Very nice. Well, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Let's move into some service advisor questions. Nikki, I would love to learn a little bit more about the role of a service advisor, and really just if you would just explain to our listeners, what is a service advisor's role day to day?
The way that I kind of see it is we bridge the gap between the customer and the technician to explain the repair so that everybody understands it and we can do what's best for the customer, the car, and ultimately, hopefully, make it the best for everybody. That's where I see it. I build connections every day with the customers and the clients that I have. It's very important that they understand what the repairs are and why they need to be done or what maintenance needs to be done. So that's where I find it's most important there.
That's awesome. So a lot of interaction with consumers in the retail world, but also a lot of interaction with the technicians, correct? You're kind of a liaison.
Constant. You have to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, which parts are needed, which cars are coming in, who needs to go out first. If there's a hiccup, what's the best way to maneuver around it and still make sure everybody stays in the loop. So
you mean there's hiccups in automotive repair?
Every once in a while. Usually in I'm not going to say it, but some of the higher end cars, I find the most hiccups lately. But it's a learning experience every day for me and everybody.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think what I love most about the industry is every day is different. And I think, Ron spoke earlier, even in his position and your position, I mean, you're doing similar things, but you're coming in dealing with a new customer, a new car, a different problem, a different challenge every single day. What do you think as a service advisor just brings you the most joy every day?
I love that I learn something new every single day, usually multiple things every single day. I love the connections that I've made with the community. That Westgate's a pretty new shop. I mean, for us, we acquired it a few years ago, and they were nice enough to let me come in and hang out. And it's been wonderful. My technicians are like the brothers that I don't have close by, whether they always like that or not is not, but it's a family, and I love that part of going to work every day.
Awesome. How do you balance customer expectations with the technical realities of repair, especially with the high-end vehicles that you guys see and work on? How do you handle that?
Honesty, you be honest with the customer and the technicians. You trust that they know what they're doing, which my guys are brilliant. I'm sure, everybody thinks that, but my guys are pretty special in my opinion. And they're always make sure I've got the information I need before I go and approach the customer and kind of explain what's going on. So it's really nice to have the backup. And if I'm not sure, I have plenty of people I can ask to explain why, what, and when the sticker shocks sometimes happen, then we're like, well, so, we got to kind of go down that route. And it's coming from Germany, so it's usually a time-consuming thing mostly.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. So you've been in this industry for 3 years now, still fairly fresh, but looking back, if there was a few different things that you could change or some things looking back that, like, my goodness, I wish I would have known this when I entered the industry, it would make me so much better than where I'm at today. Can you, kind of try to think of some of that? Like, what do you wish you knew coming into the industry?
I wish I knew, I wish I had the confidence in myself. I was my biggest doubter when I started.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember saying, I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this multiple times. And I'm happy to say I was very wrong. So making sure you have the confidence in yourself more than anything, because you'll be your biggest critic.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. And that can go with anything, somebody coming in to be a technician. They get in there and they think, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Well, look internal. I mean, are you talking down on yourself? And you should be, celebrating your small wins and not taking that one little screw up and saying that you can't do it. It's not for you. So I appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything else that, before we move on, that you would just like to share with our listeners that might help encourage them? One of the things that we kind of talked about on our pre-meeting as we were planning for this is, being able to just advocate for the client, being able to take a really bad situation, a broke down vehicle, an unsafe vehicle, and be able to be a part of the process that you unfortunately most of the time have to deliver the news. But being able to be a part of that process to get that vehicle safe and reliable again for their family. How's that make you feel as a service advisor? And talk about the way of maybe when a customer comes unglued, and then how you can circle back around and have some empathy for them and help work them through that process, and be able to bring them back and leave happy.
Well, when people are not happiest with the news that we sometimes have to deliver, usually when they're frustrated, they're not mad at us. They're mad at the situation. They're frustrated with other outside factors, and we just happen to give the bad news at the worst time. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, it works out great. You just explain it, and then once you give the explanation, you understand that they're upset. Yeah, I don't want to have to tell you it's a $10,000 bill either, but I'm sorry, here we are, But most of the time, people are very understanding, and I've noticed that when they are upset, it's never directly at us. It's usually outside influences, and we just kind of caught the bad phone call. And then some of those turn out to be the best returning customers that I see. They stop in, have coffee, and it's fantastic. When you do build that relationship, you want to make sure the families are safe. That's our number one goal: safe, happy customers that come back for their oil changes and maintenance. And if the car needs to be fixed. We walk you through that. We explain it. And if you have questions, I'm there. If I don't have them, I ask my tech. If you need to go car shopping, we're there. We'll do pre-purchases and look it over and make sure that you're getting in something safe, reliable, that's not going to be a headache right off the bat.
For sure.
I try to be as accessible for everybody as I can, whether you're there for a tire repair or a customer that came from the start. So
yeah, that's awesome. One thing that, as a service advisor, sometimes you got to be able to have thick skin, and you got to have a really strong emotional intelligence and a high level of empathy. As I always try to explain it, usually when their car breaks down, that's usually like the third bad thing that happened. The hot water heater went out, furnace quit working, and then now their car broke down. And the average consumer doesn't plan for a breakdown. So when it happens, it usually sneaks up to them, and that can be quite the financial burden. So as a service advisor, being able to have that strong empathy, emotional intelligence to be able to navigate through some of those extremely challenging conversations, I think are some great skills that can really make a service advisor absolutely amazing. Obviously, Nikki, being Service Advisor of the Year, you've been gifted with some amazing talents to be able to handle that. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you for your time on that, Nikki. We're going to move on to some technician questions. From, I guess, whichever technician you want to put on the screen there, Sherry, that works for me. We'll roll. Monica, let's do it. Ladies first.
All right.
I love it. What skills do you think are most important for someone entering the automotive field today?
I think the number one is willingness to learn, being curious, and also like critical thinking. I think those are valuable skills, because at the end of the day, you need to be teachable, and you're not going to know everything. Even me at my level, I don't know everything. So I have this willingness to grow and to learn.
I think that's amazing that you're humble enough to say that. I think we see this a lot in our industry, especially people that are extremely excited to be in the industry. They want to do really good. They get this high level of ego that can sometimes set them back if they don't check themselves, because they think they know everything. They think they've got it all figured out. And one of the things that I always like to tell myself first, but also share with our team, is as soon as we think we know it all, just look up. As soon as you think you're on top of the mountain, look up. There's a higher peak always. Yeah, that's really good. So,
one more thing I wanted to add to that is also the ability to take in feedback.
Love it.
I think is crucial.
Gosh, I mean, we could probably spend the rest of our time on critical thinking, being teachable and open to feedback. Can we just rob the rest of the show here, Monica? Explain critical thinking. How do you use that in the workplace?
The thing in this industry, there's procedures, how things work, how they operate, how repairs are done. But sometimes you need to look beyond that, because not every repair is going to be straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to run into something you've never run into before. And you're going to take the knowledge that, I've done a little bit of this. I know a little bit about this system. I've heard somebody encounter this. And you kind of mix it together, and you may not know the answer, but at least you know what direction to kind of go to.
For sure. So in other words, what you mean is service information does not always point us in the right direction. So being able to think critically and utilize the knowledge and the resources around you can help you further than just having to only rely on service information. And if for some reason you strike out there, you're kind of dead in the water.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't have access to it. At least for me, I've experienced that. Like, there's no information to be found.
Yeah. So for some listeners that may not know, Can you tell me what service information is?
Service information. So for us, we don't have any OEM. We just use like service tools like All Data, Mitchell. We have Cummings, but it's just information from manufacturers on how to repair, what specs there are, the maintenance procedures, any information you need to find on a vehicle. You can find it within the service information.
So, for example, a P0301, which is a pretty much generic cylinder one misfire, that's not just a spark plug. There's a series of tests that you would have to do with that as a technician, or and so you would utilize that service information for that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would give you like a flow chart of where to start. Like I'm experiencing this. All right, so you can check this off. Let me start with this first step. Is this yes or no? Did I get this result or did I not? Now we can go down to the flow chart and do the next step. So it really helps you out with it. I mean, nowadays with the complex systems and new technology, that you're gonna have to have it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have it. You're gonna have to figure out how to navigate it.
Right. That is awesome. So what does a typical day look like for you, but also for the average technician? Okay. Like I know that you work on so many different things, so I would love to hear about you as well, but just as a technician as well.
So for me, I'm basically manage the shop at the Port of Oakland. So my day is a little different. We have a morning meetings with mechanics, and then I distribute workloads to them. And then at the other end, I'm dealing with customers, which are coworkers that have the units, come in with concerns, and I'll open up repair orders. We deal our own parts, dealing with breakdowns. It's very different at my level now as a senior tech, but when I was a technician, I relied on my senior mechanic a lot, or my foreman. We call them seniors. And they would basically give us what we would work on that day. And if it was like we have preventative maintenance schedules, because I'm in government world, so it might be a little bit different in the independent world. So all of our vehicles, we own them and they're on set schedules, which makes it nice because we have a history of all the information that has been worked on. So I'll get a repair. Maybe it'll be PM, maybe it'll be some kind of repair. Once I complete that, get the parts from the parts department, I'll talk to my senior and I'll get another PM from it.
Awesome.
Or another repair.
Very nice. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, Monica, before we move on to Brian?
No, I think, well, one thing is the main reason I kind of got into this automotive industry is because, for one, I like working with my hands, but two, I really enjoy helping people. And for me to have the skill, I can make vehicles safer on the road. And it's not just for my family, but it's for all the families on the road, right?
There you go.
And I think if I keep that mindset, it's going to get me far in this industry. And it's really rewarding at the end of the day.
That is awesome. I can see that you never work a day in your life. This is your passion. I love it. Thank you, Monica.
Cool.
Let's get Brian on the screen. Let's hear some wisdom from Brian. And Brian, Monica mentioned something that I thought was pretty awesome. She said the willingness to learn. Can you share some thoughts that you have on just the willingness to learn and what you need to do inside of work and even potentially outside of the workplace in order to be able to learn?
Yeah, I mean, it's endless learning. I mean, everything's changing daily, it seems like, on the systems that are involved in the cars and trying to figure out what's wrong with them. I mean, the big thing for me when I got into it, it was kind of my hobby at the time. I mean, I put everything I had into it and I wanted to know and learn as much as I could, as fast as I could. I mean, I was just wanting to soak up everything I could do. And that's a big thing. I think putting the time in after work is a lot of it, because when you're at work, you don't necessarily have the time to get everything that you're looking for.
So essentially what you're saying is a lot of times at work, you're applying maybe what you've tried to learn outside of
Yeah.
work on your own time, you're applying some of that. Not that you're never learning at work. I mean, we learn through our failures,
Oh yeah.
but the stuff that we also get to learn outside, we get to be able to go apply in our job. Like if we're working on a lab scope at home, messing around with some things, maybe learning some things, then at that point we can come and try and reapply that at work the next day.
And I also feel like myself, if I've struggled with something and I go to a class that's speaking on that, I learn a lot better if I've struggled on something prior than just going into something I've never really looked at and then coming back and trying to apply it. It's not as easy for me, I guess. But if
Yeah.
I've struggled with something and I go, I'm like, man, that would have made that so much easier. I've had that a lot.
Yep.
And that's probably where I've picked up my biggest wins as far as learning stuff goes.
It's kind of one of those things, you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Which leads me back to confidence. You talked about confidence there too, or I guess it was service advisor, but
Yeah.
that's a big thing I think too, is going in with confidence. A lot of guys, it seems like, come in and they're kind of scared to screw something up, and it kind of hinders them where they really need to get in there and take a chance, mess something up. More than likely, you've got a team around you that can fix whatever that is.
Yeah. Break a bolt and then learn how to get it out, right? I mean, that's really what we've got to do. I got really good at extracting bolts early on because I got really good at breaking them.
How you learn, right?
That's how you learn. And then all of a sudden you you get this new job title. You get to get all the broken bolts out.
Now
right?
you're back around to the critical thinking part. So I mean, it's all just going around in a circle there.
It does. See how that works? I mean, that's awesome. So Brian, I'd like to know, you've got a very unique opinion on this. I'd like for you to share a little bit about your initial thoughts on it and kind of your thoughts now on how valuable ASE certifications are in your career path, and explain what ASE certifications are too for the listeners, if you would.
I mean, it's obviously testing. For me, when I got out of college, I really wanted it and was shooting for it, but then you had to have the experience to get it, and then I got a job and then I wasn't really into it. But now just what we had a school reach out to us the other day, and I started looking into it. And you can actually, I don't know if it was available then, but now, I mean, the internet wasn't really a thing back then, but you can actually go and test and pass the test, and then you could go apply for a job with your testing already passed. You wouldn't be certified, but the minute you hit your required experience, it would just automatically be a certification. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, that would be good for somebody coming into the industry. You could do that and have it done ahead of time. Some of it, I mean, entry level stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So in other words, what you're saying is maybe I can go in and do some general maintenance ASE certifications, and I can take the tests. And then let's say, for example, it's a 2-year on the job that you have to have 2 years in the shop. Once you hit those 2 years, then you can then get that actual certification that you've already pre-tested on. Is that how that kind of works?
Yep, that's the way it read. And yeah, I think if you're applying for a job, that would be great to have on your resume.
Well, so you do a lot of hiring and interviewing through the company with team members. Like if you saw a young aspiring technician that applies at your shop, and it states on there that they've done ASE training, they've already got passed these tests, now they just need working experience in order to be able to get the certifications, how much more I guess appealing to you would that be versus somebody just saying, hey, I think I want to work on cars, I'm interested in cars, this is what I enjoy? Like, which one are you going to be more appealing to?
That goes right back to the willingness to learn. They've already proved that, right? I mean,
100%.
You know they're going to put some effort in, try to stay on top and try to learn things. I'm not saying that just a guy messing with cars is a good way to start at it too. That's one of the best things you can do is go tear some stuff up and put it back together. But,
yeah, I mean, looking at your background, it doesn't look like you hardly do any of that, right?
No.
Yeah,
it's kind of been my passion my whole life. So
I love it. What do you have behind you, if you don't mind sharing?
It's a roadster, side steer roadster drag race car.
Okay.
A couple engines
back there. Very nice. What we've talked a lot about this already, but what advice would you give students about attitude, work ethic, and learning on the job?
Don't let ego take over. I mean, nobody knows it all, and if you can't, I mean, I would suggest not to know it all, because you need to just mainly know how to look the information up, because it changes daily. I mean, even a car that you worked on yesterday, they may have changed something on it tomorrow, and the spec might be different because something was wrong with it. And I mean, yeah, I'm kind of.
You're big on looking up the correct, accurate service information every time, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
Especially on today's vehicles.
Just like what do we have in there? Like a 2015 Chevy truck, you don't have to do anything. You get a 2021 in, and you got to turn the air suspension off. I mean, there's just stuff that you don't think about. And one of them, I think, torque specs on lug nuts, even they change year to year. They might have always been 140, but next year they're 165, and you don't know that. I mean, if you don't look it up, you don't know it.
Yep. And we all know torque specs are very important. What is a torque spec, by the way, for the listeners?
I mean, it's just how tight the bolt is, but I guess by today's standards, torque yield and stuff, it's bolt stretch. I mean, even and on my personal side, building engines and stuff, you measure the bolt stretch on rod bolts to stretch them to a certain degree. Like, you stretch it, you tighten it till it stretches 5,000s, because that's what the bolt manufacturer requires, and it's getting pretty specific on that.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you shared with me one time that what makes you a really great technician is you do the basics better than anybody else. Talk about some of the basics that you can really, really learn and do really, really well at, that is going to allow you to excel in so many different ways. I mean, in your shop, our shop, we've got some really talented people that get hung up sometimes. And sometimes you can come in with just the most basic information, and they were just trying to way overthink it. And you come in with the basic stuff and just really, really help them through that. So what's some of that basic stuff?
I mean, part of that's just because I'm old, and I had to work on stuff when it had points and a carburetor on it.
Right.
And in my mind, if you can't figure out, I mean, even if you look in, it's a different kind of basic than we're probably talking about, but if you look at the basics of the engine, you take all the new technology off of it, you still got to know how that works. If you don't, you're not going to understand how the new stuff works with it. I mean, it's all putting fuel in, putting spark in. They're just doing it a whole lot different than they used to.
Yeah.
As far as the basics go, I mean, service info, you got to know how to dig through that in a timely manner. I mean, you got to know what you're looking for to scroll through that. I don't know.
Basic electrical knowledge. If you don't understand electrical, you know.
I'm gonna say on my side of things, I've done a lot of drivability in my life, and wiring diagrams. I mean, just reading the basic wiring diagram and understanding it's big, knowing electricity, Ohm's law, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
is all basic, and it's something I would use every day.
Yeah,
on the drivability side of things.
And there's a lot of that out there, isn't there? Awesome. Anything else that you'd like to add, Brian?
Just back to what you said. I think the most elite people in anything they do, whether it be sports or anything else, is always the best at the basics. The guy that might be the very best transmission specialist might not know how to put an engine together. I mean, it's just the best at the basics.
Yeah. Gosh, that's some really good wisdom. Appreciate you sharing that, Brian. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Let's move into some shop owner questions. Kelly, next up. Patiently waiting. Last but not least, let's dive in, Kelly. I would love to know, from a shop owner's perspective, when you're looking to hire somebody with little or no experience, what do you look for? And do they have to have college education? And you are muted, by the way.
They do not. We've actually hired a high school student 4 years ago who had no experience, and he came in as an intern. So that is definitely a potential. You can get hired on at any company as an intern also, and you can learn a lot. The big things that we look for are emotional intelligence. I think some people had said that earlier. We want to look for somebody who's involved in the community, and we also are looking for young people who've been in some kind of leadership position. It doesn't matter, like a club or sports or something like that. Those are the kind of things that we're looking for.
I like that.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So another question that we have from one of the listeners is, how do you start an independent garage? And furthermore, like funding early work, ways to explain car things to non-car people, and what are some of the most common repairs that you'll see in the early days when you're working on reputation and gathering tools? So let's kind of break that down a little bit. What do you think would be the best way, like if you had to go back and redo all of this today, to start your business?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a hard question because you do have to have some money starting out for equipment and things like that. I would say if you're starting out and you have like a small garage, and how do you build customers is through word of mouth. So you ask your customers to ask other customers to bring them to you. Also, Google is a great way to harvest customers to come in who normally can't find you. Saving your money is very important because you need that money for once you start hiring people and you get big enough, then you're going to need to make sure that you have a nice cash for the rainy days. So it's kind of a hard one growing a new shop these days, to be honest.
Yeah. So
it's a hard
in
one.
other words, you're saying that budgeting and financial responsibility at a young age, maybe some of these listeners are in high school yet, being very smart with money could certainly help propel them along in their life, whether that's starting a business or doing something else, correct?
Yeah, I mean, one of the smartest things I did when I was young is I put money away in a CD and then I could borrow money against that. So I was paying myself back. So those are the smart kind of things that you can do as you're a young person.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you explain car things to non-car people?
That's a good question because because us ladies, sometimes we don't always know what you're talking about when we're talking about a car. And so a lot of times my husband is really good about this. He'll explain it in like terms of your body and how a doctor needs to look at your body, or we'll do it in terms of like household items, like, wear items. Like this is just like your household. Like it's nothing to panic about. It's a normal wear item, like your filter in your refrigerator or your filter goes in your car. So we try to do that.
One of my favorite analogies that was taught to me early on through one of my fluid maintenance reps was, if you just drain the transmission fluid and add new transmission fluid, that would be like taking a half a gallon of spoiled milk and pouring it out, and then pouring a half a gallon of new milk in that jug. At the end of the day, you still have spoiled milk. That's why we've got to do a proper transmission fluid service. So little things like that just, it goes like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get all the fluid out. We're not just going to drain a little bit, right? So I love those analogies. So just
it's less intimidating. Yeah.
It is, and it's something that we can all like. I almost get this taste in my mouth. Like I've had spoiled milk before. I do not want that in my car.
Exactly.
And then when working on reputation, what are some of the most common repairs that you think they'll see? As they're starting out.
As you're starting out, you're gonna have to do your time. So when I started our business, I had to do my time. I was a service advisor for a couple of years and became ASE certified. It's just you're gonna have to do your time and learning the basics. Like everybody, I think Brian was talking about that. The basics are what helped excel him. Mm-hmm. So being really good in the basics. So you're probably gonna do a lot of oil changes. And we have DVIs, which is digital vehicle inspections, where you can go around the car with an actual camera and voice to text, and you can document everything that you see on the car that the customer needs to be aware of. So those are some things that, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think somebody should look for in a quote unquote good shop?
A good shop. So when you're going to go to an interview, a lot of people, I ask young people, I'm like, do you have any questions for me? And they're like, no. But I would highly recommend a couple of questions if you're going to interview at a shop, because you want to make sure that's the best shop for you and your future. So you're going to ask questions like, do you subscribe to auto information? I think I think it was Brian that was talking about this. He talked about, he looks up this torque specs. Well, does your employer subscribe to those, and can you find those?
Yeah.
That would be a good question. And then, do they pay for training, and do they pay for you when you go to training? And that's when you're going to really know if that shop really is into training their people and making sure that they learn. So that would be a clue. And then also, you want a shop that pays for your ASE certification. So as my guys get the certifications, they get a pay raise. So look for, ask, do you get a pay raise for those kind of things? And then ask, in 5 years, where do you see me in your organization? Is there a chain of progress for you in your career? So
What's
those
that
would be
growth
some.
trajectory look like?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a question that had popped in my head that I really wanted to ask. It slipped me though.
Hey, Travis, we had a question that came in. It says,
Okay.
what is the best ratio of service advisors to techs? So Kelly, can you answer that one?
That's a toughie. It's always like this real balance. Should I hire a tech or should I hire a service advisor first? Like, who's going to do what? As an owner, our philosophy is we hire the techs first, and then when they start getting too busy up front, and then we hire the service advisor. So I would say 1 service advisor to 3 techs. Travis, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it depends on the balance and the responsibilities that each individual shop expects these service advisors to do. In a lot of shops, the service advisors will be looking at parts, building the estimates, interacting with the consumer and stuff like that. That's kind of a normal shop would be what I would call that. I don't know exactly, Kelly, how your shop does it. Our shop, we have an actual estimator with inside of our organization. So they actually build the estimate. They take all of the information from the technician, do all of that. So we've kind of taken out a step. Our goal inside of our business is that the service advisor kind of has the least amount of workload out of anybody in the shop. Just so that way, whenever they have to be on stage, the minute that phone rings, the minute that client walks through the door, they are there and ready to serve that client and do whatever it takes in order to make sure that they're taken care of. And when they're juggling, building estimates, answering phones, doing all of these other things that we found through just overloading them constantly, that it really reduced the consumer experience that we were providing. But one thing that I will say, and this is kind of what we do, this is the teeter-totter. Okay, so this here's loaded up in the back shop, and the front of the house really doesn't have a whole lot going on. And then all of a sudden you start adding technicians, and then the front of the house starts going, and now the front of the house is buried. So really to just kind of find that balance. And usually what we do, well, what I've done, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but we're like this, and then we're like this, and then we're like this, like nobody can win. And you eventually learn over the years to just kind of try to find this balance that just kind of goes back and forth. And I think when you really find that balance, 1 service advisor to 3 techs is pretty average. Maybe if you've got an estimator in there, you can go 1 service advisor to maybe 3 or 4 techs because they're not so responsible for building estimates and stuff like that. So I think you can kind of share that workload a little bit depending on the shop.
I mean, that's another good point. Our service advisors are now using AI. So, I don't, that might change in the future to, you need
Yeah.
less of them. I'm not sure, but they use a lot of AI tools like that'll scrub their history on their car through Carfax and ours. And then based upon our input or the manufacturer's recommendations, it'll tell us everything the car needs. And then we have that communication with the customer. It's just really cool tools. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah.
Now that we've got everybody back on the screen, I would love to ask a question, and just kind of on the screen, raise your hand if you'd like to answer. Kelly, you've already kind of hit on it just a little bit, but one of the questions that we had was AI in auto repair. How are we using AI today? And who wants to jump? Brian, go ahead. You threw your hand up.
On the technician side, it helps so much with write-ups. You can throw all your information in there and have it clean it up and make it something that the service writers can make sense out of.
So in other words, what you're saying is you might write something up really technical that makes it really hard for even maybe a seasoned service advisor to understand. So you can actually place it into chat and make it consumable to the average person that maybe knows nothing about a car, right?
Absolutely.
From your knowledge.
And it does a very good job of it.
Nice. Anybody else?
I mean, you have to read through and make sure it's saying what you want it to say, but
Yeah.
it does a very good job of it.
As a service advisor, there's also this detect auto, and it'll start asking the questions based upon your answers, the next question, to gather all the information that the tech would need. So that's another tool for service advisors through AI.
Yeah, Nikki?
Kind of like what Brian was saying, I use it when my technicians hand me stuff. I put it in there and I have it broke down into Nikki terms so that I can explain it to the customer.
I love it.
Because I don't know the tech talk, but so that's what I use it for the most, probably.
Yeah. Ron, you didn't raise your hand, but I'm going to pick on you because
Sure,
I don't.
go ahead.
This is the question that I have. Maybe not even the listeners, but how big is AI coming into the parts world?
Well, I mean, I think initially, if you think about it, I think in our industry, it'll be impactful around reporting, inventory forecasting, those kind of things, right?
Mhm.
A lot of what we do is still face to face, dealing with, with our customers, and I think that's here to stay for a good long while. But a lot of the, the backdoor processes and back end processes and the way we do things from a inventory management and reporting standpoint, we're likely going to see a big impact over the next few years with that.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, it could.
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
I'm gonna say it can create posts for you in marketing. You can put in your financials and ask it questions. It's just amazing.
Yeah, one thing that I will say that has been, really well for us from a shop owner standpoint is allowing it to help create SOPs, which is a shop operating procedure. If you have a procedure that you need to get built for your shop, you can kind of tell it what you want and really work through and converse back and forth with it and start building processes and procedures for your business through it. So I mean, I think AI is all over and it's not going anywhere. Here's one thing that I will say is there's all kinds of funny little videos out there on the internet, and I'm pretty sure we're shooting it here fairly soon, Brian. So be ready for it. But it's like somebody working on a car, and it's like, yeah, AI, you're really gonna take my job, aren't you? Like you're still not gonna take a lot of the jobs in the automotive industry. So people that are looking in this industry, I firmly believe it's a pretty secure industry to get into. There might be some efficiencies that are created where we become really efficient in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, you're still going to need somebody, wrenching on cars and, doing the hard stuff that obviously AI can't do. So we've got just about another minute. I would love for one person to just answer what the hardest part of the job is. And then I would like one more person to answer about what is the most rewarding part of your job. So who wants to jump in about the hardest part of your job before we kind of close things up? Nikki.
sorry about that. The hardest part of my job personally is bay management and scheduling. I feel like I'm always 15 steps behind when really I'm not. And that's just, the problem we love to have is being busy. So with that personally, it feels like my biggest challenge when really it's mostly there again, me doubting myself and the efficiency that I can cause through the shop.
Yeah. Awesome. What's the most rewarding part of the job? Brian?
On the foreman side of things, probably seeing one of my guys succeed in something that they've been struggling with.
That's awesome.
Get a win.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, I think that concludes things, Sherry. I'm going to toss it back to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. There's been a lot of great information and just a lot of great answers to questions that are just out there. And, sometimes students just don't have anyone to be able to ask. And so now they're getting some expert opinions from the field. I've put a message in the stream that if you are joining tonight, to send a message to info@MWACA.org. You'll see the email address in the comments with your name. And of course, we'll already have your email address because you're sending us an email. And that's how we're going to do the drawing. So there's several schools that are participating. And this way, all of the students who are at that school will be able to have their name tossed in the drawing too. So look for that. And then also, we have a quick question that came in. Any suggestions for students wanting to develop skills in DVI?
I can answer that.
So I think
Okay.
Travis would be a good one on that one.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies out there. AutoFlow is one of them that will set schools and students up with a free account. So that way you can learn and start creating your own. Another thing would be AI. If you get on AI and talk to AI and just say, hey, I'm a newer aspiring automotive technician and I would love to learn on how to properly perform DVIs. Can you create me a process that would allow me to become efficient, but also accurate in properly inspecting vehicles? And I can almost guarantee you it's going to spit you something out pretty incredible. But I think it's amazing how many people, I don't want to say people, but businesses that we use inside of our businesses that are so welcoming to the new people in our industry that they're willing to give their program for free to schools, willing to give their program for free to students that are looking to learn, because all that's doing is truly having a positive impact on our industry and on the people that are looking to come into our industry.
Fantastic. I'm going to show one last screen here, and this is our QR codes that will take you directly to the careers webpage that MWACA has, and then also a page where you can sign up to get information, find out about all of the scholarships. So if you are wanting to pursue a career in the automotive industry, and we actually have two of our people on today's panel have received scholarships, either student and also professional scholarships. So we have a lot of financial assistance available for those students who are wanting to pursue a career in this industry. So I wanted to be able to share that on the screen as well. Awesome. Fantastic. Travis, any final words?
Go get it. This is an absolutely amazing industry with so many different career paths that are extremely, extremely rewarding. So, I'll just close it out like this. Find what you love and you will never work a day in your life. And I promise you that.
That is so well said. If you have any questions, you want further information, you have another question, you want to connect with somebody who's on this panel, send us an email at info@MWACA.org. Other than that, we'll catch you on the other side. I will thank you to today's panelists. Thank you, Travis, for moderating today. And we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you in our industry soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good luck, everyone.
Bye-bye.